Boy, do I have a crew assembled for you here today. Good morning, everyone. So before I jump into all of the things that you're doing, funnily, whether it means something or not, I've got to thank our sponsors, which is Habitat for Humanity, putting people in homes for the last 35 years. So I think it's a perfect conversation that we're going to be having here in front of you today. I really want you to jump in with questions, concerns. If you've got something negative, I mean, bring it up, but you can be kind about the way that you bring it up. And if you've got real questions, we really want to know, because this is just a community forum. And while I am located in Mashpee, I am a rock throw away from Falmouth. My husband's a lifelong Falmouth resident, and we are very concerned about this particular project and what we're about to discuss today. So in front of me, I have got, and joined on Zoom here, we've got Joe Martino. I've got Tom Zine here, and Tom and I were talking and throwing emails back and forth. And I was just questioning. You've seen Save Sandwich Now. I'm sure you've seen all of their things all over our town pages, and maybe you've not really had the time or really paid attention to it because it seemed like noise. I think it's important to listen to the noise of your community. If people are talking about something, you should be paying attention to it. So I really just wanted to focus on what our community had to say about this project. I'm not well versed in it. I've read a little bit about it. So Tom, I'm going to give you the floor to really open it up and really discuss what is happening in Falmouth.
Hi, Stephanie. Thank you. Again, I'm Tommy Zine, and thank you for this opportunity. I'll start with the introduction, give you a little background information. Saxon Partners is a billion-dollar company located in Hingham, Mass. Like most big developers, they're using the loophole provided by the state's 40B affordable housing law to build massive buildings with little or no controls. Bylaws were created to protect their citizens, but the state's loophole is allowing Saxon Partners to get approval by Mass Housing and override Falmouth's decision. The town of Falmouth rejected this project for good reason. It does not fit Falmouth's housing plan. Falmouth is doing just fine building affordable housing the right way for home ownership, helping families. We boast that we are at 8.1% affordable housing, one of the highest on the Cape. Given the choice, we believe most people prefer home ownership over renting. Our group, Safe Sandwich Road Now, supports affordable housing. We don't support the 5 four-story apartment buildings that are proposed to be built in the middle of multiple rural neighborhoods, miles from amenities and transportation, where this helps nobody. This comes down to greed. Saxon Partners admitted they are a for-profit company and will sell this project off to an investment company when it's completed. This has been their history. They don't stick around because they won't make as much money. Falmouth has a plan for these 30 acres. We want to maintain the wildlife corridor in the middle while building affordable homes for families on the perimeter. We've always believed in helping people, and we want to continue with home ownership. Our group, Safe Sandwich Road Now, has been in the local newspaper, local TV station, and now on your show, Stephanie. Our group is organized. We have board members and over 300 followers, and we're still growing. We're the little guy fighting a billion-dollar company. This project by Saxon Partners will destroy the environment, wildlife habitats, water quality, create safety issues, nitrogen issues, ruin the Coonamessett River Restoration Project, and destroy families forever. This is a downtown venue being dropped in the middle of the woods. Affordable housing was never meant for this scenario, and Mass Housing and Saxon Partners know this. We recently expressed all of these concerns to our local senator, and she responded back immediately. Senator Sue Moran's office advised our group they are drafting a letter to Saxon Partners stating they are suspending their support for the project until the concerns are adequately addressed. We applaud Senator Sue Moran for making the right decision. As a community, we are grateful.
Thanks, Tom. Well said as far as I'm concerned. Tanya, you've got more to add to this than that.
Yes. Again, thank you for this opportunity. I'm Tanya Lewandowski. I'm a wildlife biologist. I've worked graduate studies and degrees working with wetlands and local areas, as well as working in municipalities and also with the federal government. So I'm well well versed in some of my concerns. But the things that I wanted to really kind of bring up were the same concerns that I had back in 2016 when original process, original building was looked at, and those concerns for 25 units are still there.
Mhm.
For 300, well, math is
That's
not
great. Yeah,
difficult.
right.
So
I appreciate that.
yes,
Good morning, Lenore, and also Helen. Thank you for joining us. We've got Save Sandwich Now project in front of you. This organization, and Tanya is speaking to the environmental concerns that you have.
yes, and I guess that piece of property really does offer a unique wildlife corridor, a good carbon sink area. It works in conjunction with the Coonamessett restoration work that's been done. Very concerned. We have all experienced watershed issues, water restrictions. I don't know how that is going to be lessened with an additional 1,000 to up to 3,000 different new residents in that small area. We're looking at a population density greater than most cities for that space. So that's a concern. The Massachusetts DEP did recognize that space right where the building is occurring in April this year as an area of extreme concern and will actually undergo, which might be some of the push for the hasty reaction. This is identified as a natural resource area and a or an area of concern. Mapping wise, all of these waters and loads will end up in Great and Green Pond and all of the southern waters that are adjacent to that area. So those are, that's going to create more of a eutrophication problems with algal blooms affecting our shellfish industries, natural resources, dead zones off of our southern coast. That'll affect tourism. It's an ongoing problem. We've been working very hard as a town and a community to lessen our nitrification issues, and this just is adding to that. And I believe climate change is real.
Yeah.
As a scientist, I must. But losing these tracks are really going to be impacting the watershed. It's going to be impacting.
Well, it can't not. The sheer size of this,
Absolutely.
I cannot impress upon how it's almost likening to a city. It's the size of servicing something in Braintree. It's huge, and I don't understand how they think it's not going to have an environmental impact on the area, regardless of how you say you're going to fix the area around it. And I'm having questions here. And if you've got the other side of this, I do understand that everybody's got their opinion, but I just don't see how something that size does not have a footprint.
Right. And not to mention too, our open spaces are dwindling. And then with the more structured, we need more infrastructure. So it's just kind of, that hamsters running around that wheel, and we're never going to catch up. We have to kind of look at what we've already done, fix it, and then and support what we have. There are animals of concern that are there. Do you want to stop a building project because of the nitrification? It could be also, habitat for box turtles, lady slippers, there's vegetation, there's bee populations. I'm a beekeeper there too. So I've seen
which we've already got a problem with.
Exactly. And it just confounds, the problem. There's interest with people working with open space and putting affordable housing in there. There's not a problem in putting something like that, but using that as the wedge in order to attain a for-profit type of business. Why would you, you're not, I understand.
Nobody works for free. We get it.
I don't either. So absolutely
we get it.
Very fair. But then put 25 affordable housing units in there and don't put the other 275. I'm being a little facetious. Of course,
right. For sure.
Because people you have to have some sort of income stream in order to be able to build these things. But that's the type of impact that I'm very concerned about. Is our watersheds, the wildlife, and we had a concern, and the town put these concerns up for 25 units. I just don't understand how, the rest of this can be done, and even just the traffic. I mean, look at public safety. I worked in public safety for years as well, and I don't see this is going to be a very, very heavy draw there. You can't do a traffic study in December on Sandwich Road.
Good luck.
Exactly. All of these other impacts need to be seasonal. Need to do things change. That's the way the, impacts
Well,
are. So
seasonality is a big part of that area specifically.
for
That-
animal,
yeah.
you're going to look at migratory birds that live there. You're not going to find them in December.
Correct.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of common sense. A little bit.
Joe, maybe you can take the floor a little bit
Thanks.
and talk to us about what you see, your walk.
Well, thank you very much for having us on this show. It's very important for us to get the word out and to have people understand what's going on. I'm Joe Martino. I've been in Falmouth basically all my life. I've lived in this area probably since 1958. My background was in affordable housing. I was the Falmouth Housing Trust president for many years. And so I've been involved in affordable housing for many, many years. I know how it works. I know what goes on. I've also, many, many years ago, was on the ZBA as one of its members. So my knowledge of this goes far further than just trying to save this land, but we have to save it, but with sense. Affordable housing is needed, muchly needed. And by having a project that fits into the communities, including affordable housing in it, is a must. There's a lot of ways around this that people haven't even talked about. But these avenues take a little bit of time, and they take investment from the state level to fund part of the project. That's how it becomes affordable to the contractor that's doing the work. It's subsidized between local and state levels to keep the costs down. As the president of Falmouth Housing Trust, I was involved in a total of 2 or 3 projects that we did. And when the Falmouth Housing Trust builds a project, each home stays affordable in perpetuity. It does not go away. It keeps the costs within the means of our local people. That's key. Now, talking about this project and its massive size, to putting a project of this size in an area, in a residential area that we have, so close to the Conomet River, which, if Falmouth hasn't learned anything, when we put our sewage treatment plant on the highest point of Falmouth, saying that as the water seeped into the ground, it was going to go away from West Falmouth Harbor, was a fallacy. Many years later, they found that the water going into the ground does move to the West Falmouth Harbor area, being the closest body of water. Caused major change in what they did and how they had to handle it. So putting a project this size with using basic sewage treatment systems that we presently have with denitrification is not going to solve the problem by it not going to the Conomet River. I mean, they just spent, $5 million in the restoration project of the bogs for the Conomet River. And what are we going to do? In 5 years, find out that we're destroying that whole project? And then who's going to pay for that? There's no check and balances to this project that after it is completed, if it even gets to that point, who is going to maintain the problems that are going to come after? Is that going to go on the backs of the town taxpayers?
Yeah. Yes.
That's where it's going to go. Another factor is a project of this size being put on a residential road like Sandwich Road with no sidewalks. And within 300 to 400 yards away, you have an intersection that's not designed to handle this magnitude of vehicles that's going to be added to it.
Yeah, that intersection is already a problem as it is, even with low flow traffic on the off season. It's a problem.
If you go out onto Sandwich Road and you're doing the rush hour traffic morning or afternoon, it's backed up basically a quarter mile. And that's going from Brick Hill Road to Sandwich Road. Sandwich Road to the intersection. It's a major blog. Now, talking to the town, DPW and wastewater and things of that nature, basically they say what's going to happen is if this project was to go through as planned, we are going to have a major expense in upgrading this area to
Yeah, you would
handle
have to.
something like this.
All I can think of is like Falmouth road race all the time. Like
Exactly.
really, it's really what it would be like in that area. Think
Uh,
about that.
Perfect example. Exactly. The infrastructure factor for this project is being kind of wishy-washy. It's, oh yeah, no problem. We're going to handle it. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. That's not an answer.
Yeah.
What's it going to cost? How are you going to handle it?
I think
None
that
of
that's
these
my
factors
major
have come
problem
in.
is most people they're not being very upfront with the plan. It's like, oh, we'll just get this and then we'll find a plan. Or, oh, of course we're going to do it the right way. But you're not hearing how that is exactly it. Like we're prepared to do it the right way. Well, are you? That's scary.
It is. It is. And, to put a project like this in a residential area is just ludicrous. Affordable housing is needed. Affordable housing could go in there. I have talked to people from the 300 committee. I have talked to the people from Falmouth Housing Trust. They're willing to jump on the bandwagon to create a nice development that fits the area, and at least a development that's going to stay affordable forever. One factor here that I have not been able to get an answer about, and I am still trying to, is 40B works like this. It gives them affordable. You have to have 1/4 of the units have to be affordable. In this case, out of 300 would be 75 units. Those 75 units that are affordable now go into a situation that I'm not sure where they stay affordable for over 30 years. I think it has to be something that will be asked of the ZBA to make sure if a project like this goes through, the affordable stay affordable. Because in the old days, it used to be after 30 years, the affordability went away.
Okay.
So now you have a rental project that's supposed to be affordable. And then at the end of 30 years, it's no longer affordable. They just fell through a loophole and somebody's going to make a lot more money. And we're going to be holding the bag for all the infrastructure problems that's going to come from this.
Yeah, and no one's saying that we don't need affordable housing. It is a massive problem. But I don't feel like the number they can call it all affordable is what they're saying because of this loophole or something.
Yes, but it's not.
Yeah, I can jump in.
Yeah,
on
please
that.
do, Linda.
So as far as the affordability goes, so 75%.
Pull that microphone closer to your
Okay.
face so I can hear you better.
So 75, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, so 75% of this affordable housing is non-40B, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for a 1-bedroom apartment, it's going to be $2,400 a month. For a 2-bedroom, it's $3,300. And for a 3-bedroom, it's $4,200 a month. That's what they're considering affordable.
Oh, okay. That
Yes,
sounds really affordable.
Those are the numbers. And then just to piggyback a little bit on Joe was saying about the whole infrastructure in Falmouth's local comprehensive plan, it states, and I took this right off of their plan.
Okay.
So this is quoted: development locations be determined by walkability, available infrastructure, schools, and services. So there's no walkability.
No, none.
And Saxon Partners, they don't even plan on putting a bike lane or sidewalks. They're just going
Imagine
to
children walking on that road. No.
Yeah. So, and then just to piggyback a little bit more on the whole Conomet project, the director of acquisition for Saxon Partners, Dave Calhoun, he has made a statement that there's no wildlife in that area.
Oh,
And so
What?
I go down to the Coonamessett River area 3 days a week, to, go for a walk. And this is what I've seen there. I've seen deer, bald eagle, coyotes, red fox, blue heron, ducks, Canadian geese, turtles, a variety of birds. There are fish in the river, herring, American eel, brook trout, and white perch.
and these are things we've seen with our own eyeballs.
Yes.
So this is not
Yes.
just somebody doing a study in the
these are-
winter saying, no animals
I-
here.
3 days a week I'm there.
Right.
And I've seen, except for maybe all the fish, I have seen everything else with my
Yeah.
my
And
little blue eyes.
if I may just quickly just gonna
Yeah,
look at
please.
that. I've lived next 50 feet from the project for 25 years. I have agricultural land, I have a barn and so forth. So I'm out there always looking at the
Mhm.
wildlife. I've seen a myriad of raptors that live in that space because it is a forested, like Cooper's hawks and red
Mhm.
shoulders.
Mhm.
I've seen snowy owls back there. Of course, we have the coyotes and deer population, different rabbits, 2 different species, box turtles, just flourish in that space. So we're looking, and then there's also plants that people don't think about. We've got lady slippers. We've got a lot of plants of concern that are listed by the state of Massachusetts, and no one's acknowledging them, either
Right.
as also needing a space.
Right.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I
No,
get-
no, it's all good.
Yeah, the more the merrier. And if you've got something to say and you're watching right now, I know a lot of people are not exactly friendly on social with the not in my backyards. This is what I hear constantly, not in my backyard. So maybe someone wants to speak to that argument, if it is one, or if it's just a statement by people who think that we just don't want to look at it because it is going to be an eyesore regardless. But besides that,
But the people that are saying that don't even live in the area.
right.
They're not remotely close.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say that and point
Mhm.
your finger at somebody who is dealing with this, right? Right in their backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I'm a NIMBY, I'm a NIMBY.
But it just doesn't fit. If it was like just because I didn't want to look at it, it'd be one thing. But all of it is going to be a problem. All of it is going to have to be addressed, and the people holding the bag for that are going to be the taxpayers, and that's really
that's
what the
the big
problem
thing.
is.
And that's like in the foreseeable future, which
Yeah.
is hard to put your hands on right now.
Right.
and
But
then
you have to consider it.
And
Yeah.
once you go that direction, I mean, there is no going back. I mean, you're going to have other pollutions people aren't even talking about. What about noise pollution? All the HVAC systems that need to be on those buildings. What about the light pollution for all of the road structures? And again, you're looking at public safety, but that's going to affect everybody's home too. We lived through the situation, we'll call it, with the windmills here in town, and we don't want to go through that again. Really do a study that makes sense and look at all the impacts, and try to do something that's sustainable. I mean, that's our biggest concern.
Right.
And plus the whole nitrogen issue is and you
It's
could probably
already a
speak on that.
problem.
And according to Dave Calhoun, the director of acquisition for Saxon Partners, he said that's going to take 10 years for it to be affected. So that's okay. In 10
To kill
years.
things.
Yeah. To start
Yeah,
killing
right.
things like,
We'll deal with that in 10 years when we're not a part of this
so-
project anymore.
and this is somebody who lives out of town who, doesn't, appreciate this area. So
Yeah.
what does this person or that company care about, our town of Falmouth?
Well, that's exactly it. It's billion-dollar companies that are not from here that are, make profiting off of
and-
this, saying that they're doing good and they're not. And I dislike that a lot
Yeah, we
for
all
our
do.
community.
All the
I mean-
people, the recreational fishermen and commercial fishermen too, the shellfish industry. We've been working very hard because we've had issues with Green Pond and Great Ponds as well. And I've
Mhm.
worked in the Wacoit Bay Area even on some projects for many, many years and try to find some eelgrass. Good luck in some of those areas. I mean, I'm just being, there is a big change with these nitrogen loads, and we're just adding more and more. And saying 10 years from now, okay, then the heck with your children and
Well,
and
that's the scary part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, T. Thanks for joining us. We're talking to Save Sandwich Road now, and it is a major concern. They're trying to build affordable housing, 40B, but it's not affordable. If you just heard Linda speak, what the affordability factor is, $2,400, $3,400, $4,400, that's affordable for families. I beg to differ if that's the affordable thing at this point in time. What's the not affordable housing in there going to cost?
Yeah.
Right? If that's the affordable portion, who is going to be moving in there?
Mhm.
But wouldn't it doesn't even fit the whole environment there. Why
No.
don't we have like like houses? I mean, when you have these giant apartment complexes, that brings in a different neighborhood, a different feeling. Home ownership is different than staying, for a low income apartment. I mean, I'd rather have people buy into these homes and have these homes and have them as my neighbors and work as part of our community. I don't understand why that can't be done.
Nina-
just to support.
Nina Wallace is asking, could the town purchase this property so they could protect the area as they see fit?
I think Joe should answer.
Joe,
Yeah.
can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, there was the 300 committee is probably the only group in Falmouth that actually has hands where they could purchase property, and the 300 committee, in accordance with joint with Falmouth Housing Trust, we're trying to purchase this property. Unfortunately, Saxon Partners gave the owners a better deal. That's how Saxton got it over the 300 committee and the Falmouth Housing Trust. That's how it has to be purchased. Town of Falmouth would purchase land because it needs it for a purpose. It has to be for municipal purposes when the town purchases land. But the 300 committee can purchase it for open space.
Okay.
So 300 committee was joining forces with the Falmouth Housing Trust and trying to buy the property, and their deal could be rectified. It could come back to fruition if we can get Saxon Partners to back out.
Okay.
That deal is not gone. So,
All right. So this is what we're here talking about. There's going to be a big meeting coming up November 30th. It's at 6 p.m. It's with the ZBA.
Yes.
And people need to come out and have a conversation. The more, the merrier.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we're asking people to write letters, how you're going to be affected, questions that you have, concerns that you have. And I know that you had said that, instead of writing one 10-page letter, maybe just break it up in little bits of concern here and there,
Right.
just so that every one of them can be addressed properly. I know we tend to all drone on about when we get passionate about things, and it's maybe if we bite-sized pieces of each issue, it can be focused on piece by piece, I think is the best way to go about doing that, right?
Exactly.
Anything else that we've not really talked about here this morning? Because I think it's just, I really want to impress upon people that you need to just say, oh, my neighbor will take care of that, or this one will go. I think we all physically need to do this.
And that's the problem. I
Yeah.
mean, people they're not as active in the community like it used to be, if you will,
Yeah.
just getting,
Well, we're busy. Everybody works.
everybody works.
Yes. It's the
Okay.
concern.
But then they're gonna still, if you don't, I mean, we're so fortunate to be in a community in a country that we have a voice, and I think we should use it, and we should say our concerns and make logical decisions that fit for everybody. But just having a small percentile of people doesn't really represent everybody
Right.
concerns, and especially a for-profit company. I was going to make $1 billion, I would probably, have a different perspective as
Totally.
opposed to sitting, in
Yeah.
my garden.
Yeah. But I mean, making $1 billion at the cost of an entire town worth of
Absolutely.
people is just not, and it's not just the entire town, it's the town of Falmouth, which is like, think about all of the times that you've spent, and people that are watching this right now that are not, maybe you've got seasonal homes here. Maybe you've got, a special place in your heart. Maybe you've run the Falmouth Road Race and you're like, wow, it's just so beautiful. It can't continue to be beautiful
Right.
if we're polluting it.
Right.
And filling it up with just, yes, people do need to live, but do we have 4 stories of anything in Falmouth?
The hospital.
The hospital.
That's it. That's it. The
Right?
hospital.
The hospital.
Mhm.
Think about that. That's wild to me.
Yes. The only
Yeah,
building-
four-story building in Falmouth, a four-story building in Falmouth is just ludicrous. It take totally out of character for our town. You know, 2 stories. Now, people have to realize, drive down Main Street and there's a brand new project going on. That's 3 stories.
And that
I don't
looks
know.
crazy.
Right.
Add another story to that.
I'm like, you can't even see around the
Right.
corner with that thing. And that's for what? Assisted living?
Yeah. And that's going to be within 100 feet or less.
Senior living?
Yeah, 100 feet or less
Senior living, yes.
of
That's a
100
senior living project.
Yeah, that all of a sudden popped up, and I'm like, what the heck? You can't.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
No.
can I go back? I just want to talk real quick about just the infrastructure and then density issues.
Yeah, because that's what we're
just-
talking about, the
but yeah,
bigness of it.
So just on school mornings, there'll be an additional 300 to 600 cars creating safety concerns. There are 265 homes in the area of these 4-story apartment buildings that will double or even triple traffic on Sandwich Road. That doesn't even include summer traffic. And density issues. I think this is really important. Here are some important statistics that will, if there are 2.5 people per unit, the density of people at Saxon Partners' proposed housing site would be 50 people per acre. That's 50 people per acre. Now compare that to a density of 1.15 people per acre in Falmouth, 21 people per acre in Boston, and 42 people per acre in New York City.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And that is,
You know-
that is just, those numbers should, I mean, you don't need to be a statistician or,
No.
or, a PhD in hydrology or any of this, just to see that this just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't
No,
fit.
it doesn't make
No.
sense at all.
I'd just like to say also that last night I was reading through a lot of conversation that was going on Fabulous Falmouth,
Yeah.
and just to answer some of the statements that were made. One particular statement was about rental. You need rentals, and people will start at a rental level and then go into hopefully home ownership.
That's the
And-
hope. That's the goal, right?
And yeah, absolutely. And the problem we've seen, and this is not just Falmouth, this is everywhere. Ever since when they came out with the VRBOs or your HomeAways and your all these rentals, it took a lot of homes off the market as rentals.
And it does stink, but I mean, people need to make money off of their investments, which is, their biggest investment, their home. So you get it. But at the same time, it's a problem.
Right. And that's why we do need rentals. It does have to happen. But again, you got to use common sense about it. Build them in areas or to the degree that fits a neighborhood. You can't be building a 4-story home, a building like this that's just absolutely massive,
Yeah.
and it's totally out of character. It doesn't fit. But now, if it was a nice 2-story apartment house, like they did off of what am I thinking? Over by Worcester Court, those are 2 stories. Those are rentals. That works.
And they were looking at cluster building. That's an actual approach for
Correct.
maximizing open space.
Okay.
So, and I could see that working in that space. And that had been proposed back in 2016 as one of the options or opportunities for that space. That puts the density of the people was easier to, you didn't have 25 homes with 1 acre or 2 acres each. So you didn't have the septic issue because you could have a more of a controlled stream.
Yeah.
Maybe a primary type of treatment. When you have clustered housing, you don't have the large pavement issues. So now you're going to get still natural waters to be able to percolate. So it's just a lot easier for public safety to control too when you have that. I don't even know if I like that type of look, those, and then that does offer opportunities for rentals and for home ownership too,
Yeah.
and not
Correct.
to be in a box.
Caroline says, is the only value for this land in housing? When will enough be enough?
And will never be enough.
But that's the thing,
You're going
right?
to put another 3,000 people in there. You're going to need the infrastructure. So you're going to need more people to work, and that can't afford. You're going to need more teachers, more firefighters, police officers. You're going to need all of those, all those
How about
infrastructures.
How about schools?
All of these things
Right.
have to happen. So, and now
It's never going to be
it's going
enough.
to continue. It's cyclic.
Yeah.
It's just, you're not going to. You have to. You, meaning we as residents, have to decide when enough is enough. Do we want to turn it into downtown Hyannis?
Yeah.
Or do you want
Right.
to turn it into some of the areas that didn't work? I don't want to see that happen either. But you need it to be sustainable and affordable too, for obvious reasons.
Agreed. I want to talk about just quickly about light and sound pollution. There'll be construction noise and other noise after it's built for years to come. Constant daily noise complaints will overwhelm the police
You're
department.
complaining about the regular things that are happening now for maintenance.
Agreed.
Imagine this.
I know.
Yeah, agreed, yeah. Light pollution during daylight hours, 4 stories will cast huge shadows. At night, the entire area will be lit up in our backyards, from their parking lot lights, the window lights, and the car lights. It will feel like, and I've said, it will feel like we have Fenway Park in the middle of our backyards. And this will cause psychological effects for some people. And there is no mitigation, absolutely none, that will solve this problem like mass housing and Saxon Partners suggest.
And looking at the wildlife too, you're going to affect bat populations, which we need in order to eat some of the insects, to stop some West Niles, all these type of things. Everything is a circle,
Right.
You're
point.
going to really impact a lot of the nocturnal animals, which we have many of. You go out at night and you're going to see a lot more activity than the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So those are the type of things that's going to be impacted. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable still even owning the animal, my horse, for instance. I don't want to have that type of traffic next to it. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
I bought agricultural land 25 years ago because I wanted agricultural land,
Right.
not because I wanted to live in a parking lot.
Right. Well, that's exactly what Caroline's saying. So the Cape will become undesirable. No one will
Yes,
come.
she's
And then
right.
it'll be
Mhm.
just that housing. And that's what it'll be.
She's right.
And so we'll all have to move to the Midwest. Where like, seriously?
That's too far for the salt for me.
I know, right? I need the ocean. We'll just be here polluting it. It's just awful. We really need to do something. I think the conversation now is we need to come together as citizens and have this conversation, because they are a corporation. They are about dollars. They're going to have answers for every single one of your concerns, whether they're real
Like they
answers
will.
or not. They will have
Mhm.
answers, and they will be armed with them, because that's their goal, is to get what they want and their dollars. So I think it's super important that everyone comes with their concerns.
Yeah, they'll try to intimidate. If they
Yes.
can bully people through, they'll
Mhm.
they'll do it. But if we start to, really have that that group, that just bringing our community together and voicing those concerns, I think that might be a little awakening,
Mm.
for
Yeah,
that
agreed.
that
Mhm.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I hope so. I hope all of Falmouth can come together on this and have that conversation. Get a babysitter, ask a neighbor to help you, stand up and be there on November 30th. I think it's just really important that bring all the kids, make them
Yeah,
nice
right.
and loud.
Right.
Bring everybody, because you need bodies in that room to address
Yes.
those concerns.
Absolutely. So I hope there's a good turnout, and I hope those letters are being written and your concerns are being heard. I know that every letter that we receive will be forwarded along as well and be supported. So, please get that pen out, hit that keyboard, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Joe, anything else you want to say before Tom closes it out for us?
Only again that I just do want people to understand that if a project like this goes through, it's going to cost the town taxpayers millions of dollars in upgrades and infrastructure costs to make it safe for the community. This is not going to end once it's finished. It's going to create major, major concern to everything that we have. And it's going to set Falmouth back on a lot of projects they have set forth for the town to move forward with its infrastructure and its plan for the town. It's going to change everything. And people don't realize a project like this going through, it's going to cost everybody else lots of money and problems.
All right, Tom, take us home.
Just put this on. I will finish up. I want to remind everyone to keep writing letters of opposition and send them to savesandwichroadnow@gmail.com. The ZBA meeting with Saxon Partners will be November 30th, 6 p.m. at Lawrence Junior High School. Don't forget to donate on our website, savesandwichroadnow.com. I want to point out on our website, we posted the April 2023 Select Board meeting. I encourage you to watch it. Started at 57 minutes and 30 seconds. And watch Dave Calhoun, the Director of Acquisitions for Saxon Partners, present his project to our Select Board. Watch the presentation to the end. After you watch it, ask yourself, is this the character of a billion-dollar company you want to entrust to protect the habitat, water quality, environment, and our citizens' best interests? I'll let you decide for yourself. Stephanie, I'd like to share one more thing. I have a letter. This letter was sent to me yesterday by a sweet elderly woman living close to the project. She said in quotes, "We are spinning out of control. We have lost local authority to make our own decisions about housing needs. Since when did this happen, that the state has the final say in the approval of this monstrous housing project? Our local departments and the zoning boards should have the final say in these matters, not the state." And she's right, Stephanie. It's reasonable to expect your town to protect its citizens and their best interests. This sweet elderly woman also said this: "We have to act locally and empower our local zoning boards to make critical decisions for Falmouth." Stephanie, I am in complete agreement with this as well. But how do we do that? The state's mass housing department has taken every town bylaw used to protect us away from our town officials. We are left powerless because of the 40B affordable housing law. This leaves important decisions in the hands of outsiders like mass housing and for-profit developers like Saxon Partners who have no vested interest in our community. In closing, again, we are grateful for Senator Sue Moran and her office for suspending their support for the project. We also called and emailed Governor Healy's office. Governor Healy's voters will be negatively impacted by the Saxon Partners project because mass housing is checking the boxes at light speed. For every box they check, there are 4 boxes that any reasonable person would never check. Our group, Save Sandwich Road Now, would like to sit down with Governor Healy, have a conversation, and let her weigh in on this. Governor Healy, if you're listening, you've had a great start, and your best days are still in front of you, and Falmouth wants to be part of that, your positive future and our positive future. We will reach out again to your office, and we implore you to sit down and talk with us. Governor, we can affect change, and we can do this together. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tanya. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Joe. We really appreciate you. We hope to see you November 30th. Bring everyone in your family. If I will babysit for you. I will drive you there. I will pick you up. What is it that you need to get your rear end there? November 30th, Lawrence School, 6 p.m. Write your letters and email them to savesandwichroadnow@gmail.com. And be a part of your town. Be a part of your community. And if you think you're in another town watching this thinking that's not my town, 40B affects everyone. And if it's not this town, it's going to be another one. It is going to happen unless you speak up. So you have to save our cape. All right. From everyone, thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
later.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Thank you.